Hello, this is Gilles Nehr. This is the first part of the video tutorial how to rehair a violin bow, and today we're going to learn how to make the plugs. What you need is to prepare some piece of wood of a rectangle section, about 5 mm high, about 12 mm large. You need to cut your piece following the grain of the wood, so the sides of the plug could be pressed inside a slightly smaller mortise, but the length of the plug will remain the same and not shrink because of the pressure. The wood you use to make the plugs is usually maple. It's the wood they use to build the violin. If you know anyone who's building a violin, you can always ask if they have some cut-out pieces they cannot use and make your plugs with it. If not, you can use a wood which is kind of similar to it, which is a strong white wood, but not as strong as Pernambuco or ebony. For this video, I'm using one of my bow. As you can see, the frog is open, the pieces are out. I will make in the future a video about how to remove the hair on the bow and in the safest way. We will begin by making the angle of the plug in front, the same as the angle inside the mortise. To make this angle, you can use a sharp knife, if you have one, which is not my case, so you can do also like me and just take a file. Now that you have the right angle, you will cut the side of the plug to fit inside the mortise. I'm cutting both sides on an angle, so the plug will be able to force inside the mortise without putting too much pressure on the bow. You will cut until you're slightly larger than the mortise, and you can push your piece of wood inside the mortise and leaving some mark on your wood. You need now to cut the length of the plug a bit shorter than the mortise itself. Now you will cut both sides of the plug so it can fit inside the mortise. Same angle, and you will start just after the marks left by the mortise. And never touch this. You can do the same thing as what you see, but of course you can also use a knife with cutting wheel. My plug is a bit too high, so I'm going to remove a bit of the thickness. Always remember to always remove from the bottom, from the smaller side of the plug. Now you can try to put your plug inside the mortise. You have to force it inside with your fingers. By the way, we cannot really see it on the video, but the frog is held between my fingers. My hand is on the bench, but the frog isn't touching the wood at all, or the bench, and it should never touch any hard part. You will now push down the back of the plug to see if it's fitting in the mortise, and see how much you have to cut. Remove the plug using your fingers, and make the plug shorter. The back of the plug is also cut with an angle. Try again putting the plug in the mortise until you have the perfect length. There should be a small space between the back of the plug and the back of the mortise. Now we have to break the angle on the back of the plug by cutting it. And that's the way your plug should look now. And you need one last cut to leave some room for the hair. Best will be to use a small gouge, round section chisel, and you carve between the two angles of the plug until you reach them. The plug for the frog is now finished. And we are back cutting tiny pieces of wood as we need to make the plug for the head. Let's start by making the front angle. Cut the side on an angle. That time you want to have your plug as large as a mortise with the exact same width. Width. Cut the length of the plug. Cut the side of the plug, following the shape of a head mortise, which is a bit of a curve. Check how much of the back of the plug you still have to cut. It's now fitting well, but it's still too long. Now that's better. Make a chamfer on the back bottom of the plug. And the last cut with a small gouge to leave room for the hair. Now the plug is finished and it should look like this. This was the first part of my video tutorial of how to rehair a violin bow. Thank you for watching.